And because of that, what the president did is he basically issued an ultimatum to the Iranians. He said, open up the straits, stop trying to hold the world's economy hostage, and we'll engage in a ceasefire. And that's exactly the agreement that we came to last night. The Iranians have agreed to open up the straits. The United States has agreed to stop attacking. And not just the United States.
The president issued an ultimatum. One man. No vote. No debate. No congressional authorization. The President of the United States personally issued a war ultimatum to a foreign government, and his own senior official just said it out loud, on camera, with a straight face. And the room applauded. Let's be precise about what just happened in that clip. This is not a spokesperson reading from a prepared statement. This is a senior member of the negotiating team, someone who was in the room, someone who spoke to Trump directly the night before, casually describing how one person decided the terms of a ceasefire with a nation the United States had been bombing for 38 days. The president said, open the straits. The president said, stop attacking. The president told the team what to do. The president issued the ultimatum. Congress doesn't come up once in this entire interview. Not once. Now, before we go any further, I want you to watch this full interview. Because it gets worse. This official doesn't just reveal that Trump ran this war alone. He reveals that the ceasefire is already on the edge of falling apart. He reveals that factions inside Iran are already lying about the terms, and he reveals that Trump is still holding military threats over Iran's head. Right now, even while negotiations are supposedly underway. Watch what happened when he kept talking.
I have the opportunity now to ask you about Iran. There are latest developments, I think very positive developments during the night that we received, that there is a ceasefire. What can we know more about the latest developments in the Middle East?
Yes, that's why I was a little late this morning. I was up very late last night and talking about that. Look, I do think there are good developments here. And let me just say a few things. First of all, what the president set out to do was decimate the Iranian military, decimate their ability to wage conventional war. And that military objective, as the president said yesterday, as I said yesterday, has been achieved. And because of that, what the president did is he basically issued an ultimatum to the Iranians. He said, open up the straits, stop trying to hold the world's economy hostage, and we'll engage in a ceasefire. And that's exactly the agreement that we came to last night. The Iranians have agreed to open up the straits. The United States has agreed to stop attacking. And not just the United States, but also our allies have agreed to stop attacking. And that is the basis of this fragile truce that we have, which is now 8 to 12 hours old. Now, here's what I'll say about this. I've learned a lot about the Iranian system and a lot about the way the Iranians negotiate. As the president told me last night, the Iranians are better negotiators than they are fighters. I'm sure they don't like to hear that, but it's true. But here's a couple things. So, one, just in the response that we've seen from various segments of Iran, you have on the one hand people within Iran who have responded very favorably. The foreign minister who said, look, we agreed to the United States' terms. We'll do a ceasefire, we'll do a negotiation, we'll open the Straits of Hormuz, and then we'll see if we can come to more agreement down the road. So some of the people have responded favorably and have said the right things. And then you have some people on social media within their system who are basically lying about what we've accomplished militarily. They're lying about the nature of the agreement. They're lying about the nature of the ceasefire. And so you have just, even within their system, and this is why I say this is a fragile truce, you have people who clearly want to come to the negotiating table and work with us to find a good deal. And then you have people who are lying about even the fragile truce that we've already struck. And that's just an interesting thing about their system. And the final point that I'll say about this is the President of the United States has told me, and he's told the entire negotiating team, the Secretary of State, the Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, he said, go and work in good faith to come to an agreement. That is what he has told us to do. If the Iranians are willing, in good faith, to work with us, I think we can make an agreement. If they're going to lie, if they're going to cheat, if they're going to try to prevent even the fragile truce that we've set up from taking place, then they're not going to be happy. Because what the president has also shown is that we still have clear military, diplomatic, and maybe most importantly, we have extraordinary economic leverage. So the president has told us not to use those tools. He's told us to come to the negotiating table. But if the Iranians don't do the exact same thing, they're going to find out that the president of the United States is not one to mess around. He's impatient. He's impatient to make progress. He has told us to negotiate in good faith. And I think if they negotiate in good faith, we will be able to find a deal. But that's a big if. And ultimately, it's up to the Iranians how they negotiate. I hope they make the right decision.
Okay, let's go through exactly what was just admitted, because there are at least 4 things in that interview that should have triggered follow-up questions and didn't. Number 1, the Iranians are better negotiators than they are fighters. Trump said that directly to his negotiator, and his negotiator repeated it on camera, proudly. Think about what that means for a second. The President of the United States is making jokes about the military capability of a country his administration just bombed for 38 days, while the ceasefire is 8 hours old, while Iranian factions are already disputing the terms. That is not the behavior of someone managing a stable peace process. That is someone who thinks this is already won, and that kind of overconfidence is exactly how fragile truces become wars again. Number 2, this is a fragile truce that is now 8 to 12 hours old. He said it himself, 8 to 12 hours. That's it. And in those same 8 to 12 hours, he's already describing Iranian social media accounts lying about the agreement, factions within Iran contradicting their own foreign minister, and a fundamental split inside the Iranian system about whether to honor the deal at all. This is not peace. This is a pause, and he's describing it like it could unravel before the interview is even over. Number 3, and this is the one that should stop you cold. The president has told us not to use those tools. What tools? Military force, economic pressure, diplomatic leverage. The president told the negotiating team, "I'm keeping all of it on the table. I'm just telling you not to use it yet." That is not a peace negotiation. That is a hostage situation wearing a suit. The Iranians are being asked to negotiate in good faith while a loaded gun is sitting on the table, and the guy holding it is the same person who decided to start the war, issued the ultimatum, and is personally directing every move of the ceasefire process, without a single congressional vote. Number 4, if they lie, if they cheat, they're not going to be happy. This was delivered as a warning to a foreign government by an unelected official, authorized by exactly nobody in the legislative branch of the United States government. He is threatening renewed military action, or at minimum leaving it heavily implied, in a televised interview, while Congress sits at home having never been asked for anything. And this is where everything changed. Because this wasn't a slip. This wasn't an accidental admission. This official was proud of every word he said. He thought he was describing strength. He thought this was a winning message. What he actually did was describe in complete detail how one man ran a war, issued ultimatums, directed negotiations, and is now holding the threat of further military action over a ceasefire, all from the Oval Office, with no legislative branch involvement whatsoever. Here's what we know from this interview alone. Not from commentary, not from speculation, directly from the official's own mouth. President Trump personally decided to bomb Iran. President Trump personally issued the ceasefire ultimatum. President Trump personally directed the negotiating team. President Trump is personally holding military, diplomatic, and economic leverage over the ongoing talks. And President Trump, according to his own official, is impatient. An impatient president, holding military threats over a ceasefire that is 8 hours old, with factions inside Iran already lying about the terms. And Congress has not voted on a single piece of this. The War Powers Resolution was written for exactly this moment, not for a surprise terrorist attack requiring an emergency response. For this, a multi-week, large-scale military campaign against a sovereign nation, followed by unilateral ultimatums, followed by a fragile peace process being personally managed by one man with no legislative oversight. This official walked into that room and accidentally made the most compelling constitutional argument against his own administration that any critic could have written. He didn't need to be cross-examined. He just talked. The question is not whether the ceasefire holds. The question is, at what point does someone in Congress actually stand up and ask, when did we vote for this? Because so far, they haven't. And as long as they stay quiet, this is the new normal. If this concerns you, share this video. Not because of who is president right now, because of what every future president now gets to do if this goes unchallenged. Subscribe and hit the bell. We are covering every development in these Iran negotiations as they come out, and we will keep asking the questions the press rooms keep skipping. Drop a comment. Do you think Congress should have been consulted before this war started? Let's hear where you stand.